We're just waiting for a few more people coming in. Okay, we'll go ahead and get started. I know this guy because I had the privilege of actually assisting him a little bit with building his place. Rod Rylander, Off-Grid Rod, is building an experimental, low-cost prototype vernacular and repurposed home. The technique being used: rock walls without mortar, cob seats and heaters, soil walls, sunken floor, less expensive repurposed material, repurposed tiles on earthen floors, solar electrical systems, passive solar, water harvesting, earth tubes, thermo siphoning chimneys, and aquaculture greenhouse. Rod's had so many parts surgically added that his last doctor referred him to AutoZone. Rod Rylander.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And instead of trying to guess where I'm from, instead of listening to me, I'm going to tell you. I'm from Denton, Texas, born and raised there. Genealogy goes back to the Revolutionary War. But I had a speech impediment, and that is why I have my own accent. And I hope you can understand it. So, I have, since the 1970s, done almost all of the different ways of alternative building. So I have not been expert in any of them. I've been kind of like a jack of all trades, master of none, but I've done it. But I've seen what has been good and what has been challenges on each of them. Let me see where this button is. Okay, the key is it's good to think outside of the box. We have been conditioned to think in certain ways. And if we think outside of the box and look back in history, like one house that I want to build was built 1,000 years ago out in the desert of the Gobi Desert in China. We can learn from the past. A lot of the new items that we are doing in our vernacular construction and design, they've already been done. We are just relearning how to do it. Okay, I'll put this in here because where you are depends on what type of house you want. One house cannot be put in every habitat in the world. This is Nepal. It's particular. If you have a lot of gold, vernacular construction is using what you have. If you have a lot of gold, build a golden temple. Back in Papua New Guinea, water harvesting. Well, they had it, and they had to figure out how to have water in the house. This is one I designed in Costa Rica, where the roof all goes down into a cylinder, a water cistern, and at the bottom, all we had to do was stick pipes through the wall, put a shower head on it, and we had water. Plumbing was very inexpensive. So this is thinking outside of the box, no gutters to have leaves and all that problem. Okay, this was in Belize. And we built a design, and this guy and I went out in the jungle and got the palmettos for the sidings, the palm leaves for the roof, and built that. We did put the concrete posts because of termites. And the the staircase did not have concrete, and we had to keep replacing that because of termites. So you had to consider where you are and what you are using. This was in the Philippines. We always learn from other people. I taught them how to use adobe blocks. They taught me how to use bamboo and thatch. This was down in Belize. It was a ferro cement dome on a earth ship. There's the towers, unfinished, of course. Now this is a house that got me, I guess, well known in the architecture. I gave papers in Sydney and States and Papua New Guinea. Down below these windows is an underground garden because the house is down below and there are towers that go up where you can grow all the flowers and vegetables and stuff. And right behind it are glass doors into the bedrooms. So, and then these are big insulation covers that can open up and close night and day, so you can keep the heat in. Of course, this is facing south. And this was built back in the 70s. This was my first house, alternative house. I had built other houses, but this my first alternative house, my house. And it was passive solar, 3 stories, but it was very unusual. It had up with. The vertical crawl space is where you dig a hole, you put a roof over the entire hole, and you put the wall in, and your wall can be canvas. Mine was canvas. And the space between I call vertical crawl space, because instead of underneath the house with your cables and everything, I put them where I could walk around and say, "Hey, Joe, catch." And I would roll out the cable and they would stick a screwdriver through the wall and stick it in. And what's nice about it, my house in North Carolina, over 20 years old. So they say, "Oh, let's put internet in it." Easy. Catch, John. Stick a hole. We have it in every room. So comes in handy. It also keeps the temperature nice, and humidity with the adobe walls I had. It was the driest in the vertical crawl space, next in the house, and the wettest outside. Adobe, people don't know about it, but adobe absorbs moisture. When it goes outside and the sun heats it, what happens? It evaporates and draws more moisture out of the house. This is the Hobbit house, and this got very well known. It got 1,000 clicks a week or something like that. And when I quit it, half of the clicks came from India, country of India. it has these are some of the things it had. We made the adobe out of the silver ram, cob on the windows, cardwood, water and daub, earth sack, slip straw, lumbering post from the site, living garden roof, a low-cost, environmentally friendly way of making stained glass windows, vertical cross space, paper clay shape floor that I developed, cardwood floor, passive solar, off-grid solar, piped in spring water, rainwater harvesting, bath greenhouse outside of the house. You don't want humidity put into the house in North Carolina. Here it's nice, but in North Carolina, so the bathhouse is separate and it has a greenhouse. So you can take a bath and see all the nice strawberries growing and picking them while you bathe. So it had a lot of neat things. Okay, now I've kind of made one mistake here. I was thinking about building the house before I came out here. But when I came out here, wow, there was no trees around here. I'm out here in the desert. So I had to change my attitude and I looked around. And what did I find? Rocks. So I started building rock walls, but cement is only the petrol coal industry. Carbon produces more problems with the climate change. And second is cement. It is the second biggest culprit for causing the climate change. So I tried not to use any cement. And so you had to keep looking out and see what is available. Now, what I didn't know about was the severity of the dust storms. And last week, one came through and was really struck. Picked up a 60-pound panel, picked it over, knocked on another one, went over about 5 others, and went 50 feet away before it came back down, unscratched. That's a kind of something to come. So my next house is going to be completely underground with a big patio in the middle. And I can show you over there later on how it would do. So all the rooms were like on to a patio with trees and shrubs and ponds and stuff like that. This is the cardwood. Cardwood it's nice using a cob in between, but the key is that cardwood has to be dried for about 3 years. So you have a long time ahead of time. So if you want to build a house fast, that you may want to think second. This is the straw slip, and that's kind of neat house. And and the water and daub. One nice thing about those are fairly quick to make, but they're thin, no insulation, right? So what you did, you build one here, and you build another one here, and you fill the middle with insulation, like old blue jeans and old materials that everybody throws away. That's cheap, real cheap, because you can use limbs and stuff to put the screening on. Adobe brick, I'd use the thin ram. You match it down and it compresses it. And but out here they usually just put the frame and sun dry it. But it does take moisture out of the house and it breathes. And I don't think too many people are allergic to dirt. You know anybody allergic to dirt? I imagine they aren't around anymore. Okay, cob is real nice. We built them, but the thing is, you put one layer down, stick your fingers in it, wait till it solidifies, then you put another one, another one, and another one. It's not only intensive in building a cob wall, but it takes many days to do it. But cob is wonderful because I would use the cob to make all my windows arched and make all the decorative. You can do a lot of artwork with it. And the Hobbit house had a lot of cob artwork in it. People say, what is cob? Well, cob is a loose term of vernacular mortar. In which you find out what we stick together locally, and you can use it to make bricks. You can put cob, you can use wad and daub, you can put plaster, depending on the proportions and the items that you use. Oops. Okay, let me see. What? Oh, no farms are needed, but finding what you have to do is find out the proportion of your local materials you need. Cordwood, beautiful walls, but you have to get those cordwood 3 years drying. Earth sack, super adobe, beautiful domes, all types of stuff. It's a great way of building. Can be expensive or it can be very cheap. It depends on how you do it. And earth ships, I built a lot of those. It takes a lot of ramming that earth into those towers. And but it produces a very solid home. Straw bale, I always say the best type of house. Now remember, mass is better on the inside of the house instead of on the outside of the house. Because mass is what will take in your heat or coolness to keep your house temperate. Straw bale is insulation. So ideally, is if you built a adobe wall on the inside or rock wall and straw bale on the outside, and you plaster that, you will have the insulation on the outside of the wall that would keep your temperature the same on the inside. So if you have a rock house now, put a straw bale wall on the outside, and you'll see a terrific difference in the comfort of your house. But in certain areas, high humidity and rain and stuff, you may not want to go that way. Renders is, to me, one of the quickest ways of building a house. And I used a gas automatic tamper. And in a short day, we built a whole wall. And you do have to have farms, but those farms can be reused and used. And once we took the farm down, we had used different type clays. So when it came off, it was a beautiful artwork of this wall. And you don't have to plaster it. You don't have to put screen wire on it. It's already there. So it's very quick. And especially if you use a mortar mixer, non-cement mixer, a mortar mixer and a front-end loader, you can do it really fast. The key is it's easier to have straight farms than it is for curved farms. So the earth sack or super adobe is good around. Okay, this is what I'm doing right now, and I'm doing a lot of rock wall, and it keeps me strong. And these are some reasons that I like about that. Okay, number one, it does away with concrete. I don't use concrete except in very tiny spots if I want to put a post up or something. As I say, concrete, in my viewpoint, is bad for the climate. I do not have to have foundations. Now, the cement people and the electrical people, those are the people who are writing the codes. And I hate to say codes are great if you're in a city or have a mortgage and you want to buy something, you want to know it's good. But the key is they were written by the industries so they can make money. Foundations usually have to consider the depth of the frost into the ground, because if it gets cold underneath a foundation that's wet, it will expand. Water will expand when it freezes, and it will rip up your foundation, correct? But the key is, number one, it has to be moist down there. And number two, it has to be low. So what I do, I build a rock wall up, and then I berm and put dirt up against it. So the bottom of the rock wall, which is strictly on the ground, no foundation, is a foot or more into the ground because of the berm. So you don't have to build. Now here, I have rocks, so I build directly on the rocks. And so I don't have to have it. Now, what I do is I dig down on this house 2 feet deep and put that dirt up and build a wall, 2 foot high wall. So I have 4 foot of earth wall, 4 feet of earth wall. I don't need a foundation. And the key is I don't have to buy all the lumber to build a wall. This is truly vernacular, right? You take dirt here and you stick it there. Take dirt here, stick it there. And when you go into the earth, you have more less temperature changes in the house. You're more warmer in the winter, and so the key is my house is going 1,200 square feet, 400 is in aquaculture greenhouse, and my budget for the whole house, not counting my time, is $25,000 compared to $300,000 average. So the key is if you double that and bought land here in New Mexico, not Arizona, but New Mexico, you could build a house for say $60,000 or $70,000 and sell it for that. Now, is that affordable? I would say not many things would. Not only that, you could produce enough food and for yourself and to sell out of that greenhouse. Any question? Now, there's a lot more to this. I've taught courses, college courses on this, so it goes long. But I'll have a table that I can illustrate and tell you a lot about. But are there some questions? Oh, just at I usually about 45-degree angle. And the key is when I build a earthship, or even this, I put the tires going out, coming up, and then I plant in all of those areas coming up, which is kind of neat because it's your garden too. Any other questions? Yes. The greenhouse is not finished yet, but it's not the first one like it. There are many other aquacultures. Now, the aquaculture is where you have tilapia fish that are, and you have some chickens, and the chickens poop into the water. They create the phytoplankton, the algae that the tilapia eat. And in that water, it's very rich in nutrients, and that goes in through pipes that have holes that the roots of your plants go down into, and then that circulates, aerates, filters, and goes around and around. So you don't have to buy fertilizers, you don't have to buy anything. If you sell an egg, or if you sell a fish, or you sell a tomato, you get 100%. You don't have to deduct what it costs you to do it. Truly self-sufficient. Any other questions? Okay.